Welcome back to the Jatai Academy. Today we're going to be doing a study on Florence Pugh's bob that she wore to the Oscars. This was a grow-out haircut for her that she had worn after she had buzzed her head for Oppenheimer, and I think it was elegant and graceful and modern, beautiful, all the good stuff. So let's get started. If we look at the bob that she had worn, and it was kind of a little bit past her chin, a little bit of layering in it to keep the shape round, but she was growing this shape out, so it's obvious that it's going to be a little shorter on the top as she's growing it out. And I think that this shape was really, really pretty, and it was more of a study of texture than it is just a bob, because if we do just a bob and layer it a little bit, it can tend to look really, really frumpy. So we have to put a lot of texture in it to make it look modern. So the first thing I want to do is take a natural or center part down to the occipital bone to the mastoid. That gives me all the hair in the flat part of the back of the head that builds my foundation for length for the shape. I'm going to take a center section, comb that right down in my fingers through there, and then determine where I want that length to be. And I'm thinking about right there should be good, and I will go through and point cut this from left to right, and then to make it more neutral, I'll go right to left, because we know when hair is longer on one side than the other, that's the way it shifts. So I want to make this as neutral as possible. Now we'll take our next section on this side. Don't comb the parting out. Follow that down. There's my line, and we're going to go through and point cut that. And you can start to see where this line is going to fall as I get around the front of the face. And I will cut this back and forth to make those little point cuts as neutral as possible. Same thing on the other side. Now, if you don't want to go through and point cut this in both directions, I get it. You don't have to, but my neuroses, I would stay up night thinking about that I didn't cut it as neutral as possible. As I'm point cutting, I want a weightier, more solid scissor, so I'm using my Jatai Osaka Scissor. This has a nice point, but it's also got a really solid, heavy blade, so that as I point cut, it takes less effort on my part to get a nice, clean point cut through it. Once I get both sides even, and I got this line, the length that I want and the texture that I want, I'm going to now go through and take parallel sections all the way up the head until I run out of hair and cut everything all one length. If you want to see that in more detail, check out the Jatai Academy. We have a one-length bob tutorial that would be perfect for showing you all the intricacies and the ins and outs of how to do a one-length bob very, very well. Follow us on your favorite social media at Jatai Feather. All right, that's our last piece. We got everything one length like we want. We got a nice clean line all the way around. Start right down the middle. We're going to take a mohawk section. I'm going to pull this first section up, and this little bang part that we had previously cut is going to fall out. And here I want to look at where it's going to fall in relation to her face, and I think about the chin is probably a good length, and we're looking at about right there. So I'm going to go through and point cut that layering right through there. Now I'm going to keep this layering pretty round on the top and especially around the face, but I'm not going to put a lot of layering in the back. So as I reach this next section, which is the high point of the head, that's going to be the last part where I start to follow the head shape and mimic the head shape in my layering. From here, I will start to get longer, but I'm still going to hold that section. Come on, baby. I'm still going to, oh, come on. I know you don't want to get cut, but it's okay. I want to hold that and then angle my fingers away from the head so that my length gets longer as I go towards the back. I'm not going to over direct, because that's going to give me inconsistent weight distribution. The last section here, pull up, you can see my previously cut guide there, and then I'm just going to round that out just a little bit right through there. Now we've got our layering guide for both sides. From here, I'm going to take a parallel section to my center mohawk little section, and I'm going to continue the same guide that I was working with before, by pulling everything into the center of the head. So this is being pulled into the center and following my previously cut guide. Working that all the way back and through. Very little to cut through there. Now I'm just going to take the last section, pull everything up into the center where my previously cut guide was, so it's all going to be held right here in the center of the face. And anything that hangs over, which is not a lot, I'm going to cut off. Oops! Oh, so close, I almost had it. Pulling everything right into the center of the head, following my previous guide. Very little reaches, if any. Come on. Perfect. So after I finish the layering, I'm on the left side, I'm going to take my center guide and do the same thing on the other side. Now, she had already had a little bit of bang cut around the front, so I'm going to go through and section the side out, which is the first bump of the head, right to the high point of the hairline over the ear. I'll do that on both sides. So basically all I want to do with this is take that little corner off right here around the front. So I'm going to pull this straight down, angle my fingers, and then change a little bit of that angle so we have a little bit better blend with our layering around the front. I'm not trying to take my corner off here. I still want a good solid shape there, but taking this around the front will make it easier to push back, especially as it blends in with the side. Take the rest of the hair on this side, comb that down. Anything that hangs over from that angle that we had previously cut, take that off. Same thing on the face framing on the other side. So now let's go through and add some texture. The most important part to keep this from looking kind of dated and old. All right, so we've started back at the beginning, and this is the same section I started out with initially to cut my one length. This is how I'm going to apply my texture throughout the entirety of the haircut and keep it as consistently as possible. I'm going to use my Feather Plier Razor. This is a razor with no guard, so I have to be mindful and careful with that and respect the blade, but it will give me the cleanest cut and the most control. So we're going to section off right in the center like I was doing before. I'm going to comb that into the middle. Now I'm going to come through and about halfway through and down, go through and channel cut each section so I can force separation into it and only thin about halfway down to the ends. I'm not going to go all the way deep into the root and risk losing control of the root movement, and I'm also not going to go through and texturize every section within this, every piece of hair within this section, because I still want to maintain a blunt shape. I just want that internal texture to lighten it up and give it a lot more movement. Starting in the center again, about halfway through and down, trying to not pick up my previously cut hair. Pull that out and through, channel that through. There we go, we're looking good. Okay, moving up the head, following the same pattern, creating texture in the last half of each section. Trying not to pick up previously cut hair. Give us a thumbs up. Click the subscribe and the notification bell to be notified of future Jatai Academy content. Okay, here we come to the very last section, and I'm trying to still be as methodical as possible and be patient and take my time and get it as consistent as I can. So let's blow it dry and see how we look. You look fabulous, girl. Here's our end result. I think we're looking pretty good. I think we got the texture right. I think we got the shape right. The length is pretty good. You know, she doesn't have an ear, so we had to put a little pin there to keep it behind her ear, but I think the shape's pretty good. And I think the texture is right. The razor gives a texture that no other tool can mimic, and it's something that you really should add to your repertoire of skills so that when you need something like that, it's there for you. Just a little bit of practice is all it takes. Check out the Jatai Academy. There's all kinds of great information on there that will make you a better hairstylist and barber. Also, let us know what you'd like to see in the future. And thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.